In a shocking twist that has rocked the courtroom and sent shockwaves through the entertainment world, Sean "Diddy" Combs' mother has just taken the stand, and what she admitted stunned everyone present. With the trial already engulfed in controversy, no one expected the music mogul's own mother to deliver testimony that could shift the course of the entire case. Her words, emotional yet revealing, hinted at deeper knowledge of the allegations swirling around her son's empire. As murmurs rippled through the courtroom and headlines lit up across social media, one thing became clear. This wasn't just another legal proceeding. It was a family reckoning unfolding in real time. What she revealed could change everything we thought we knew about the Combs dynasty. Setting the scene, the high-stakes trial. The courtroom was charged with tension as legal teams on both sides prepared for a pivotal hearing in the sprawling investigation into Sean "Diddy" Combs. The allegations leveled against the music mogul and entrepreneur touched on a range of serious issues, from questionable business practices to deeply personal conduct. This case was no ordinary legal battle. It was a high-profile spectacle, with millions of eyes glued to every twist and turn, amplified by relentless media coverage and social media chatter. In this environment, every word, every gesture, every moment in court carried immense weight. Attorneys sharpened their questions for a grilling cross-examination, hoping to uncover truths that could decisively influence the case's trajectory. Defense teams aimed to maintain composure, protect their client's image, and dismantle the prosecution's claims. Prosecutors, on the other hand, were determined to present a narrative of accountability and justice. Just as the courtroom seemed to settle into this familiar rhythm of legal sparring, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. The judge called Sean Combs' mother to the stand, an unexpected move that promised to inject fresh urgency and emotional complexity into the proceedings. All eyes turned to her as she took the oath, knowing that what she had to say might become a turning point in a case already rife with controversy. The unexpected confession. What followed was a moment that stunned everyone present. Under careful questioning, Diddy's mother made a confession few had anticipated. She acknowledged that she was aware of certain questionable financial activities and business decisions within her son's vast empire, details that prosecutors had been trying to uncover for months. More shockingly, she admitted to offering informal advice during critical moments, advice that, according to the prosecution, might have influenced some of the very decisions now under intense scrutiny. Her voice, measured but tinged with hesitation, conveyed the personal weight of her testimony. It was clear she was not merely recounting cold facts, but revealing a family deeply enmeshed in the complex and often troubled dynamics of power, loyalty, and responsibility. She spoke candidly about private conversations filled with concern and frustration, moments when she had grappled with the difficult realities behind the glitz and glamour of her son's public life. This revelation sent immediate ripples through the courtroom. Observers could sense a collective intake of breath as murmurs began spreading among the legal teams and spectators. The testimony not only challenged the existing narrative crafted by Diddy's defense, but also humanized the story, showing a family wrestling with internal conflicts and decisions that had consequences far beyond the courtroom walls. Legal experts react what this means. Legally, the admission by such a close family member sent shockwaves through legal circles. Analysts were quick to dissect its potential implications, noting how rare and impactful such a testimony can be. The fact that Diddy's mother was not just a passive observer, but an active participant offering advice, complicates the legal landscape in several ways. First, this testimony could seriously undermine the defense's strategy. If her account is deemed credible and truthful, it contradicts previous statements and denials made by Diddy and his legal team. Defense lawyers now face the difficult task of either discrediting her testimony or minimizing its significance, a challenge that could strain their arguments in court. Second, prosecutors might leverage this admission to open new lines of inquiry. If the matriarch of the Combs family had influence over business decisions, investigators may seek to probe further into familial involvement in the alleged financial irregularities or managerial choices. This could expand the scope of the investigation, potentially implicating more individuals or revealing a broader web of accountability. Third, differing accounts from family members can complicate the coherence of testimonies, but also add layers of complexity to the case. Conflicting versions of events might arise, forcing the court to weigh credibility carefully and consider motives behind each statement. While experts caution that this testimony alone does not guarantee a legal victory for the prosecution, it undeniably represents a critical crack in the carefully constructed defense narrative. It raises doubts, opens new questions, and places added pressure on Sean Combs and his team. Family dynamics in the spotlight. This courtroom confession has thrust the usually private Combs family into an unrelenting public spotlight. The relationship between Sean Combs and his mother, once shielded from public scrutiny, is now dissected by media and legal commentators alike. The admission reveals the complicated balancing act families face when they must navigate the intersecting pressures of business, fame, and loyalty. In celebrity empires, family members often serve as informal advisors or confidants, providing emotional support and sometimes practical guidance. However, it is uncommon for such relationships to become directly implicated in legal proceedings. The emotional strain on the family becomes palpable, with the potential for divided loyalties and personal conflicts that may influence the outcome of the case. Observers note how this dynamic introduces a human element to the courtroom drama, a reminder that behind the high stakes and legal jargon are real people wrestling with the fallout of their decisions. The very public airing of these family tensions adds layers of complexity to the case, making it not just a legal contest, but a deeply personal saga. Media frenzy. Social media erupts. No sooner had the courtroom doors closed than the news of Diddy's mother's admission exploded across social media platforms. Twitter erupted with the hashtags Diddy Court Drama and Family Confession trending within minutes, as fans, critics, and casual observers rushed to weigh in on the bombshell testimony. Clips of the hearing circulated widely, accompanied by rapid-fire memes, commentary videos, and heated debates. The public reaction was sharply divided. Supporters of Diddy framed the testimony as a deeply human moment, an expression of a mother's concern for her son amid intense pressures rather than a legal liability. They argued that family love and private advice should not be conflated with wrongdoing. Conversely, skeptics viewed the admission as further evidence that the legal net is tightening around the mogul. To them, the confession highlighted the possibility that improper decisions and actions were not isolated but intertwined with those closest to Combs. This polarized response underscored how this case had grown beyond the courtroom. It became a cultural spectacle, reflecting broader societal tensions about celebrity accountability, the influence of family and business empires, and the complex dance between public image and private reality. The admission's impact on Diddy's legal team. The unexpected testimony from Sean Combs' mother sent immediate shockwaves through his legal defense camp. Sources close to the team reveal that the admission has forced a rapid and complex recalibration of their entire defense strategy. Until this moment, the defense had maintained a tight narrative, portraying Combs as a decisive leader who neither condoned nor was involved in any alleged financial misdeeds. Now, With a family member acknowledging awareness and informal influence over key decisions, that narrative faces unprecedented challenges. Legal strategists are scrambling to identify and address any internal contradictions this testimony introduces. It is not merely a question of refuting facts, but of reconciling how this personal admission fits into the broader story they have been presenting to the court. The defense must carefully navigate potential conflicts between Sean Combs's statements and those of his mother, while maintaining credibility in the eyes of the judge and jury. Meanwhile, the team's public relations advisors have mobilized quickly to mitigate the fallout in the court of public opinion. Their messaging emphasizes the Combs family's solidarity and portrays the mother's testimony as a heartfelt moment of maternal concern rather than a legal liability. They underscore Sean Combs's commitment to transparency and cooperation with the investigation, seeking to soften the impact of what could otherwise be perceived as damaging evidence. However, legal insiders speculate that this development could pressure the defense to consider more pragmatic options, such as negotiating settlements or plea agreements, depending on the strength of any additional evidence prosecutors might present. While the defense continues to assert innocence, the admission signals a significant shift in the battle lines, potentially accelerating discussions behind closed doors about how to best resolve the case. The broader legal context: ongoing investigations. This courtroom confession does not exist in isolation. It unfolds against a backdrop of an already sprawling and multifaceted investigation into Sean Combs's business operations and personal conduct. Authorities are examining a complex web of allegations, including financial misconduct, money laundering, coercion, and personal improprieties. All claims that could carry serious legal consequences. Over months, prosecutors have painstakingly pieced together evidence from an array of sources: documents revealing financial transactions, testimonies from former employees and associates, and a trove of electronic communications suggesting questionable practices. This layered mosaic paints a complicated portrait of a business empire grappling with ethical boundaries and legal responsibilities. The mother's testimony provides prosecutors with a potentially critical piece of the puzzle. Her admission raises profound questions about the extent to which family members were involved, whether knowingly or indirectly, in the decisions now under legal scrutiny. It also prompts deeper inquiry into the inner workings of the Combs family's influence over the business, something prosecutors had only speculated about until now. If investigators find corroborating evidence that family members played active roles, it could broaden the scope of the investigation and lead to further indictments or legal actions. At the very least, the testimony reinforces the prosecution's argument that the situation was more systemic and entangled than a simple case of individual wrongdoing. Public opinion. Shifting perceptions. Public sentiment surrounding Sean Combs is beginning to show signs of subtle but significant shifts. For years, he has maintained a loyal and passionate fan base that admired his music, business acumen, and philanthropic efforts. However, the revelation of his mother's involvement adds a new, deeply personal layer to the unfolding drama, one that is reshaping how fans and the broader public perceive him. Some supporters express empathy, recognizing that families often face complex challenges when under the harsh glare of public and legal scrutiny. They view the mother's testimony as a humanizing glimpse into the pressures and conflicts that inevitably arise when personal and professional worlds collide. On the other hand, a growing segment of the public feels betrayed or disillusioned. The seriousness of the allegations, combined with the admission of family involvement, raises doubts about Combs's transparency and the integrity of his business empire. For these critics, the confession is not just a human moment, but a troubling sign of deeper issues and potential misconduct. Recent polling data reflects this trend. While a sizable portion of the public still holds out hope for Combs's innocence, the overall confidence in his narrative has begun to waver. More people are calling for accountability and openness, demanding that justice be served irrespective of fame or influence. The mother's admission personalizes the story, accelerating this shift and compelling many to reconsider their views. Industry reactions. From silence to statements. Within the entertainment industry, reactions have been notably cautious yet perceptible. Many insiders and close associates remain silent, wary of the potential legal repercussions or reputational damage that might arise from public commentary. Nonetheless, several former collaborators and industry veterans have issued measured statements calling for patience and respect for the legal process. Some voices emphasize the emotional toll that such public scrutiny exacts on families, urging compassion and understanding for those caught in the crossfire. They highlight the often overlooked human side of celebrity scandals, reminding audiences that behind every headline are people facing immense pressure. Simultaneously, advocacy groups dedicated to transparency and ethical standards in the entertainment business have seized upon the testimony as proof that systemic reform is urgently needed. They argue that the case exemplifies the blurred lines of accountability that often characterize celebrity enterprises, calling for stronger safeguards to protect artists, employees, and the public. This growing discourse is fueling broader conversations about the responsibilities of high-profile figures, not only to their fans, but within their personal and professional circles. The case is serving as a flashpoint for debates about power, influence, and the ethical obligations that come with fame. The emotional toll on the Combs family, legal experts and psychologists observing the trial emphasize the immense emotional pressure this process places on the Combs family. Public trials are inherently invasive, forcing private pain into the spotlight and potentially fracturing even the strongest bonds. The mother's admission suggests a breaking point, a moment where the weight of the case became too heavy to bear silently. This confession not only exposes legal vulnerabilities, but also reveals the internal conflicts and heartbreak that often remain hidden from public view. Families entangled in legal disputes over business and reputation face a painful dilemma. Balancing loyalty with truth, protecting loved ones with transparency, and preserving relationships amid fierce external scrutiny. The unity of the Combs family and their ability to navigate this crisis may prove critical not only to the trial's outcome, but also to the long-term legacy of Sean Combs. The emotional fallout could ripple far beyond the courtroom, influencing personal dynamics and future business endeavors. Support systems such as counseling, mediation, and family therapy may become essential as the case unfolds. These resources could help mitigate the psychological toll, allowing the family to confront painful truths while fostering resilience amid adversity. What comes next? Anticipating the court's response. With the bombshell testimony of Sean Diddy, Combs' mother now part of the official court record, the legal landscape surrounding the case has shifted significantly. Legal analysts and courtroom insiders are closely monitoring how the judge and prosecution team will respond to this deeply personal and potentially incriminating admission. The key question is whether the court will permit additional evidence or summon new witnesses directly tied to the mother's statements. Her acknowledgement of informal advisory roles and awareness of questionable activities opens the door for prosecutors to subpoena further family communications, emails, text messages, and private meeting notes that could deepen the probe. There's also mounting speculation that the prosecution may leverage this testimony to widen the scope of the case. If her statements are seen as credible and legally significant, they could lead to additional charges or broaden the net to include those within Combs's inner circle who may have been complicit. This unexpected twist may also pressure the defense to seek a resolution outside of court. The risk of more damaging revelations could push discussions of plea deals or settlements into high gear. The trial could become longer and more emotionally charged if the defense chooses to fight the claims head-on, putting family relationships and reputations further under public scrutiny. A turning point in a high-profile saga. The court admission by Diddy's mother represents more than a legal disruption. It is a defining moment in a high-profile saga that has captivated national attention. In a trial already steeped in themes of power, control, and public perception, her confession adds a raw, emotional layer that is impossible to ignore. By pulling back the curtain on the private tensions behind Diddy's empire, this revelation reminds the public that celebrity scandals are often driven by deeply personal struggles. The testimony challenges the myth of invincibility surrounding fame, exposing the vulnerabilities and moral dilemmas faced even within powerful families. This moment could ultimately prove to be the inflection point, shifting the course of legal proceedings, transforming public opinion, and reframing how the industry grapples with accountability. It marks the convergence of law, legacy, and human truth. As the case moves forward, one thing is clear. The echoes of this confession will linger far beyond the courtroom walls, forever altering the narrative surrounding one of entertainment's most iconic and now embattled figures.